Hey all, Lucan here. Just a quick heads up that the mic quality in this video is a bit garbage, but it's okay. This is the first type of this video I'm doing, so as is tradition, some kinks got to get worked out. So please enjoy the rest of the video. If you can bear with the mic quality, there's some things in here I think are really interesting, and anyways, I just hope that you enjoy. Anyways, bye.
We're rolling. Hey there. It's a GIMMEE here, otherwise known as Lucan, coming at you live from my desk, uh, in San Francisco, Texas. This is a kind of weird video that I'm making right now, but it's something I've thought about for a long while, and that is to make a series of videos looking back at a lot of the games that were very important to me as a kid, or even just like games I played as an adult, and sort of just investigate these really unique sort of pieces of art that have fit into my life at one point or another. I was considering what the first game for this kind of series would be, and I was really stressed about producing this video from start to finish because I didn't want it to be bad by any standard, but that's kind of part of the creative process, is like dealing with all those, the difficulties. And I thought, okay, the first game I play has to be extremely mid in order to actually fit the video. And to anyone out there who has played this game, you might agree with me, I suppose. And I think I'd like to, talk about this game and why it's important and why it might also miss the mark at times. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, made by Insomniac Games. This one came out like in I think I was in high school, maybe. It was like 2017. I'll say 2017, 2018, because this was during a big Spider-Man boom at the time. I think Spider-Verse had was pretty recent, or at least was about to come out. This game had just popped off, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's like better than Spider-Man PS2." So let's just hop right into it. Jesus Christ, it is so loud. Now, I think the biggest thing about this game that makes me really say it is mid is that
Folks, I'm hearing a lot of praise for Spider-Man lately, and I'm
JJ, you
not
don't have to
saying
show
it's
up when I talk about
entirely on
midness.
board.
I think this is a really interesting game because it really is one of those games that you never like. You always feel like there's something more to be done, and you're like zipping around. You're fucking playing as Spider-Man, and I mean, come on, this is one of the coolest things ever. Look at what is on your screen right now. There's a fucking helicopter up there, but I think there's definite criticisms that exist because a lot of the game's focus was on getting this exact motion feeling right. And you spend a lot of the game doing literally just this. This has to feel good for the game to like be well received, and for gamers who, frankly, gamers are like the most pretentious fucks in the whole world. Do you guys not see how insane it is that this is just smoke and mirrors and an amazing bit of code? You guys can't do this shit. I can't do this shit. At best, I could maybe break down the music behind it. I could make a shitty video about what this game is like and how it is to play and have a whole thing about it. Now, keep in mind, I haven't played this game in a long while, so we are having a lot of learning experience. We're all learning together here. I'm kind of over listening to shit in the background. I kind of just want to swing around the city and be Spider-Man and not have all these fucking text boxes pop up that I do not give a shit about. Like, yes, you're Spider-Man. You're meant to be a hero. You're meant to be doing all these crazy things, but I am kind of fucking over it at this point. Let's go somewhere a bit more private, just you and me. I think I was ready to start cringing at myself the second I started recording. I don't mind that. Oh my fucking god, shut up. Anyways, I guess I'll start off by, thinking about why this series is important, or why I want it to exist. For one, I'm really interested in video games, and I want to talk about them. But I feel like I've already seen so many other people out there have interesting discussions about video games in a way that I can't really replicate or improve upon. And so people like Video Game Donkey and Nakey Jakey and Annie Austin have their own unique niche that makes them really interesting to like think about and look at and investigate. And there's even like very frivolous content out there that I think does a really good job of getting you to be reminded about why you really love video games and why they're important to you, even if it does so through subconscious, like, you know, just like two like friends hanging out and playing video games together. I think things like that remind me of why video games have always held such a special place in my heart. And so, how do I want to talk about them? How do I want to investigate what games have had an impact on me and have really gained my approval for trying something new, doing something like that has never been seen before? And I think this game is a great representation of that. It is literally just being able to play as Spider-Man in a context that is so absurdly cool and vast and interesting. And there's definitely more to criticize about it than that. And so I guess I want to talk about that too, but we'll get to that later. Now, the other big motivator, or the sort of thing that led me to make a video like this, was some people watching this video may already know about a felon named Slime, who is part of the Yard podcast. Yes, Slime is the more interesting person, or I guess character, that I wanted to think about and investigate when making this video, which is his own video called Revisiting a Classic. And that video, he goes into like the first Street Fighter game that, you know, had 3D polygonal models, and it was like a big advancement for the Street Fighter series. And, you know, in that video, he talks about his own experience with it growing up as a child, and also kind of talks about some really dark stuff when he's, you know, going through it. And it's this very funny interplay between him saying like, oh yeah, these combo charts are like all fucked me up as a kid. I was so bad at them and I just wanted to be better. And then it goes from that, where he's talking about like just pretty frivolous shit, into then, yeah, and I went over to my friend's like house as a little kid to play this game, and like he killed himself at one, and just changes everything, where you start to realize how there's a lot more complexity to why he likes the things he likes, and who he is as a person, and what makes him tick. And the video hit pretty hard for me. Like, I didn't like cry or anything, but it was something that I really wanted to investigate more. I think his perspective on video games is something of grand appreciation, especially for something like Super Smash Bros. Melee. He will talk about how much he really cares about that scene and how it, like, quite literally changed his life. And that's something to be, you know, cared about and loved and appreciated, because, you know, video games can be that amazing that they literally just give you not only job opportunities, but let you meet your best friends of all time, and also give you an outlet to get away from like the noise of life. And I think I saw on full display his actual appreciation, like a real part of himself, thrown up onto the internet. And it almost sort of hurt, because I want to be that kind of interest. Obviously, like, yeah, talking about Slime in this way is very parasocial, and I'm not going to deny that for a second. You're a very inspirational character, but you're just one source of inspiration. So, don't think I'm just glazing you for the sake of glazing you. But outside of Slime's video, I think the biggest reason why I wanted to make this series was I need to have an outlet. I've been at college for a couple years now, and I've had a lot of things go down during my time there, and I've really felt that there's always been this kind of desire to have a frivolous bit of output. And I guess that maybe making a series about video games and why video games are sweet, but why they might also be bad, and how they fit into my life, the good and bad times with them, maybe that's something I've always wanted to understand. And this is my tribute. This is my tribute to things that make me tick. More important than that, I was thinking about how I wanted to make videos, maybe not even just how I make them, but why I make them in the first place. I don't want to make something I'm not proud of. It's why I didn't post for, well, I think it was probably nearly 5 years. Like literally yesterday. Today's the 25th of May, 2026. Yesterday I posted my video, I Think I'm Peaking, which is just like gaming funny moments, bullshit with me and my friends. And the way I view that video is very different from how I'm thinking about this video. Like that one, I can just put out into the world and, no one will give a shit. But at the very least, my friends who were in the video and who know me personally can go back and watch that video and have a little time capsule that reminds them of playing games together and reminds them of really good times that we've had. Not to say I'm like the arbiter of all the good times we've had, but I am one aspect of many that has kept our friendship together over the years. And I'm proud of that. I'm really proud of the fact that I have contributed to my friend group's collective lore. I really love those guys. They're really special to me. I'm not sure what I'll do for other videos in this series, but I was thinking that part of what I wanted to do is mainly just to have my own investigations. And that's a little, like, difficult. Like, it's very personal to just sit down with a microphone in front of you, with your monders and all that, and just have a conversation with yourself, essentially. I, like, even wrote down some notes down, like, just so that I would have something to talk about, so that I wasn't just gonna sit here and ramble on. And even still, I've had things that I'm just, nah, I probably am gonna cut a shitload from the video. Look at his foot there. Look at his weird ass foot. And video games are cool, but I love seeing the seams. I love seeing a little character to them. And this is character right here. But you look up and get to avoid all that. Take some photos. Far away as well, like it doesn't look bad. Oh, okay. I think this is just a problem with my own computer and my graphics and stuff. I'm trying to record like this pretty hefty game, and the textures are gonna get a little budgety, but that's fine. I think graphics aren't nearly as important to me when it comes to gameplay. They're interesting, they're cool, and like really technologically like supreme, but to me, graphics do not make a game, even if it is called a video game. The biggest part of it for me is the actual gameplay. Games like Return of the Obra Dinn and Breath of the Wild and Undertale, they don't need great graphics to really be great games. The video of those games actually even adds to the desired aesthetic. Return of the Obra Dinn has one of the most interesting art styles I've ever seen in my life, and I think my thing with it is that there's a certain je ne sais quoi about it that you cannot ever truly replicate that game's like look, because the shaders are so interesting to look at. Most people, when they start the game for the first time, are sort of like, what is this Mickey Mouse bullshit? Like, what am I looking at? This is so hard on and harsh on the eyes. But after like sitting there for 15 minutes, your brain doesn't give a shit and is more so entranced by the art style and how there is a certain realism, but also a surrealism to what you're looking at. That shit is crazy. I would highly recommend people go play Obra Dinn. That is one of the best games ever made. Actually, it's a really great game. I think it deserves its flowers. It's hard to quantify what makes an amazing game for me, but I think the largest thing is how much did the designer actually care about the game aspect of their video game? Or are they all just gonna give a shit about graphics and all of that, because that seems to be where most people place their emphasis on video games nowadays. Is what are the graphics like? What are the specs of your fucking, you know, PS5 that need to run this shit and all that? And like, that's cool and all, but I think some of my favorite games of all time were made when technical limitations led to more interesting graphical decisions. Games like Doom 2 look like hogwash and all that, but everyone knows what Doom 2 looks like. I think this game was always something I was waiting to play. Like, I never owned many consoles growing up. I had like a Nintendo DS early on and a Switch when that, you know, came out, but I never had like even like the Wii or Xbox or PlayStation and shit like that. You know, I didn't need that. I still had like computer games and stuff I really liked, but I really never got to experience this game by actually playing it. I got to experience this game through Let's Plays. It was actually a big reason why I found Let's Players to be so amazing, is that at the time, I watched Jacksepticeye play this entire game. He was very elated. That was, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cut that. He was very elated as a Spider-Man fan to finally get to play a game like this. There was so much hype around it. So much was going on. I had friends at my school and everything who had PlayStations that were also massive Spider-Man fans and just wanted this game so badly because, I mean, it's just fucking awesome to look at. And so I never got to like even see the game like with those friends. They had like their own thing going on, and they were also like, they were big enough Spider-Man fans that they literally did, they literally like started making their own Spider-Man suits and all that. One of the guys, I think his name was Evan, was not only a huge Spider-Man fan, but also like was really into parkour and everything. And so when he and the guy I knew, my friend Ryan, you know, got together, they would like just make like literally they were in their garage like fixing up a suit and like doing this crazy arts and crafts deal, and like that was really amazing to me. I really loved that, or at least hearing about it. So I was really intrigued about Spider-Man and kind of took on Spider-Man as more of a stronger interest when I saw other people who really like fucked with it in that way. Anyways, I'm getting a bit off topic, but I really think I wouldn't have been able to have the appreciation that I had for this game had it not been for Jacksepticeye playing through it. And obviously he wasn't like thinking of me when he made that Let's Play. He was just like, oh, you know, there's a spicy new game out for me to play, and it's, you know, obviously, yeah, it's a cool game and I've been wanting to play it for a long time, but this is like my livelihood. Kind of, you know, it's that weird in between of catching like a strong sort of feeling for a game, but also depending on games like this to come out in order to feed yourself. You know, Jacksepticeye is not poor. He's well off for sure. But I really did appreciate the fact that it felt like this gameplay was something I could really lock in and appreciate. I don't know. Anyways, thanks Jack for being a great vocal stim for me to chase after, and also helping to help me develop my own childhood interests when I just didn't have the resources to attend to certain things, I suppose. Yeah. This fan texture is pasted onto the wall. I think these rooms are different. No? Are they? That? I mean, yeah, they don't give a shit if you're, like, looking inside here and all that. This is not the point of the game. It's not to look at people's mini-ass New York apartments. This is... What the... Oh... I think there... So my explanation for this is there's a whole tank of water sitting right above their bedroom, and there's just a piece of glass holding it up there. Wow, that's really interesting to look at. Yeah, no, I think this I was gonna say that this seems a bit, big for a New York apartment. This tiny glass section, this is more what I was thinking of when I thought of New York apartments. Yeah. And I think that's the wonderful thing about this game is, like, you don't need to have any of this shit really, work. This is here for flavor and texture. This is not the game and all that. I wonder why these... So, this, like, room right here is, like, literally just whatever, yeah. Don't give a shit about graphics. It's just a chair and table and everything. Does it then connect this room? Which connects to this room? Which connects to that room? So the kitchen is there. I'm getting a bit granular, and I'm also kind of half staring at Spider-Man's ass. I mean, God, can you... I wonder if he was going to do, like, the 2B thing where he swipes me away. For those that don't know, Nier Automata, this is, like... It's a game that, features, like, 2B, who is, like, this robot chick, but also is, like, hot and sexy because, why not? And if you spin the camera underneath her skirt, she will literally wave it away. But the game also renders out, like, literal underwear for her, and also lets you, like, explode her clothes off and shit, and so I don't think the camera, motion shifting it away was really doing that much. Gooner's gonna goon. Now, when I, like, titled this video Spider-Man and Midness, obviously part of that is me trying to just be in, like, a YouTube, like, title type, limitation. It's, like, kind of just the nature of titling things on YouTube, I don't really care if this is, like, a successful thing, but not many people are gonna click on Spider-Man and the incredibly nuanced anything more than, like, 10 words, basically, in the gutter, in my experience. And so when I say that this is, like, a mid-game, do not get me wrong for a second. This is an awesome game. But every aspect of this game should be interrogated and criticized solely for the sake of making better art and better games. I want video games to succeed every single day, and this game was incredibly successful, but also misses the mark on a lot of things I think were a bit more important to me than maybe other people. Ooh, this is cool. And I want to talk about how, watching the videos of Jacksepticeye playing through this, my expectations were through the roof. Like, I don't know if he received, like, any sort of advanced copy or anything like that, but obviously YouTubers are going to be pretty nice to games that were already hyped up. Even, like, watching something like, the Rad Brad play through Cyberpunk 2077, I didn't even realize until maybe a couple weeks after the game came out and I'd watched this playthrough by the Rad Brad that, oh, Cyberpunk is fucking busted. And it wasn't like a developer's fault or like anyone who worked on it inherently. It was largely like greed and crunch that fucking let this really amazing game get squandered just because people knew that the second you put Keanu Reeves in a trailer and he goes up on stage and says, "No, you're beautiful," whatever the fucking meme was, it's going to make its money. So my expectations going into this game were pretty high, especially because Jack had summed it up in like this really amazing way for me where his enthusiasm really caught on to me, and I wanted so badly to love this game. When in actuality, I think this is a solid game, but the second we're done here, I'm quite literally going to uninstall it. It is too much data saved on my hard drive, and not enough just playtime or not enough time for me really to engage with it that it deserves to stay here. I think certain games will stay on my hard drive forever because they were very worthwhile games. They're games that I want to literally go back for this like video series and make videos on. They're games that are important to me and I will literally cherish forever. They're like books or movies in my collection. I want like to hold on to them forever. And I guess part of that is then figuring out what is worth keeping around. Without Jacksepticeye's videos, I never would have played this game or known what it was like in the first place, but you also have to be honest and tell yourself a certain truth, which is you can't just take someone's word for something. You should always look at everything that you experience, art especially, through your own lens. Be critical of it through your own understandings. Don't just let someone tell you what their truth is and accept that as reality. Also, I just literally saw on screen a prisoner say something like, y'all are what we like to call human capital or something. There's a lot of like actual problematic shit that I think this game does not even begin to touch on. Such as the fact that prisoners in this game are literally like the most evil fucks ever. Yes, people like Wilson Fisk, like the Kingpin, those are like sort of real-ish bad guys, because they're billionaire fucks that literally run crime syndicates, and like they may be a keystone in like maintaining a certain amount of order, like the human nature of it all, but they're still like evil people who like traffic and make money from weapons dealings and warmongering, and the game touches on like Fisk is evil, but evil isn't really like a thing. Like to be evil, I guess, is to be a fictional version of something that hurts someone. And people get hurt by real things all the time. But that doesn't make them evil, because evil is just a fantasy. Maybe I'm talking on some like pseudo-philosopher, psychiatric, sociological bullshit, but evil is just a facade that we put on when we're children to justify who is good and who's bad. And when you get older, you really come to terms with the fact that the Disney villains that you disliked are really compelling people, actually. They don't read like villains after a long time, if they're written well, because you actually start to see yourself in them. I think this brings me to my thought about how Spider-Man is like, literally is a cop apologist. Like, he is so willing to just assume the nature of police officers is always good, when systemically, we know very clearly that police officers maybe great individual people, but are part of a larger system that holds down people of color and other marginalized groups. It was the whole point when the United States was in its, burgeoning era. Cops were created originally as a means to catch slaves. They weren't like upholders of the law because there was no law at the time. The law was maintaining the status quo and farming as much as possible in order to then be rich and have prosperity for yourself. And the way you did that, you kept your slaves in order. I know I'm not like very qualified to have a good discussion about this, but I think it would be really interesting to talk about white habitus. It's essentially the idea that like white people kind of live in a bubble of their own creation that blots out any sort of opposing worldview. They're essentially not put into a situation where they ever need to have a diverse view or a view of the world that conveys a different reality than they already understand. I'm giving a very simplified and unfortunate, like, sort of retelling of it, and you should either read, if possible, Eduardo Bonilla Silva's Racism Without Racists to get a view of how racism actually functions when you don't experience it yourself, or if you don't have time to read, like a fuck, you should watch FD Signifier's Bo Burnham and White Liberal Existential Dread, which is a really, really great video. Inside, really great Netflix special, but FD also saw that there was like a certain understanding of the world that Bo held growing up that he kind of sort of refutes with inside, and, you know, attaches himself to his own experience growing up as a white, you know, kid versus like growing up as a black kid and all that, and how the experiences literally led them to be very, very different people with different outcomes. But it's still good art. It's still a great special. It's very funny. The songs are catchy, and it's able to tap into serious topics in a really funny way. Especially a song like How the World Works, where you literally see Bo Burnham do some white people shit to his little sock puppet. So please go give some love to FD Signifier, watch Bo Burnham and White Label Existential Dread, and if you have the capacity, go read Racism Without Racists. They're both very interesting and good if you want to try and actually be critical of your own understanding of the world and how racism fits into it. So for me, Peter Parker is a very active representation of white male habitus. He is really fucking smart. He is genuine, like, as a character, he's meant to be smart. He's meant to be Spider-Man, who is able to design all his own tech, his web shooters, his suit, his fucking, you know, NVIDIA graphics card that goes into that shit, and, like, it's really cool. But it also discounts the entire systemic reason for why people who are marginalized and impoverished cannot have the same opportunities that fucking Spider-Man does. I think for me, my own understanding of white habitus, and especially like white, straight, cisgender male habitus, was when some Palestinian journalists were murdered. As a journalism major, it hit hard to see journalists be murdered for just trying to get truth and information out to the public so that people knew what was going on in Gaza. And I had a moment where I was literally sitting down at a restaurant by myself and saw this news story pop up, read it, and I had a thought that I could literally opt out. Like, in terms of my own involvement in politics and journalism and writing and production of video, I am able to opt out of that experience and not give a shit about what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in the Congo, in Sudan. I have the ability as a white fucker to just live my life without having to contribute a dickle to anything else and still make it, like, with ease. I'm gonna put the names, because I unfortunately don't know them off the top of my head, of the journalists that were murdered by Israel for the crime of spreading the truth about Gaza and the humanitarian crisis going on there right now. I wonder if all this shit that I'm saying is gonna get this video blacklisted, but whatever. It's honest. So anyways, yeah. Fuck Israel and free Palestine. Just keep repeating that shit every single day. Which ultimately brings me back to the point of white male habitus opportunists. The opportunities. Black people get, like, opportunities, sure, but it is always a systemic effort by the United States to force them into modes of oppression, where the only way that, you know, something like Sinners was able to get made was through the approval of white systems. If they said anything too radical in any of these art pieces, then they would have gotten shut down quick. Coogler and Jordan wouldn't have gotten their Oscar. It is only through the approval of whiteness that you get fucking anything. I think I heard my coworker say one time, it was a weird fucking conversation where we were talking about breastfeeding. I think he was on the side of some shit where he's like, oh yeah, there's like an alphaness if you got breastfed. Maybe like in a joking sense, I think he might have been saying, but regardless, I decided to continue talking about this like a chud idiot. And I said, I mean, breastfeeding can be very painful sometimes, and you know, it's a real reason why a woman might choose to bottle feed, is that she doesn't want this child like biting down on her breasts and all that and fucking causing them to bleed. And then he proceeds to say, damn, there's like nothing good about being a woman. And that shit like fucked with me, because it pissed me off how little acknowledgement of the female experience was in that statement. Because there are really awesome things about being a woman. Like, there's many things to say about how women interact and are there for each other and are able to have community that is built around an emotional understanding of the world. And there's more than that is to be said about it, but that statement only acknowledges the rough and rocky patches of being a woman. There's aspects and layers to it. It's not just one good or bad thing. It's not just black and white. I think I've gotten too far away from the game. I wanted to play this game because it was something that is always in between, but it does treat the world in a very binary way, and that's fine. I don't think this game was going to solve racism or any shit like that, but I think it fails to acknowledge the right things in the right ways sometimes with its story, and especially includes gameplay moments that hinder the actual flow of the game for the sake of serving an incredibly mediocre story. Anyone who's played this game knows the Mary Jane sections I'm talking about. Mary Jane in this game is treated so fucking poorly compared to how interesting her character can be. As characters go, I think Mary Jane's a great one, and this game really does a disservice and really tries to tap into some white feminist like ideology that does not translate well in the real world. Oh my gosh, that's that's another funny thing is when you go to hit the attack button on people, you just wave. These little like details in games like this that make me so proud of developers, that you're able to create these whole frameworks around games and then include little shit like that. That's so cool.
Gotta be honest, not a fan of Big Pharma, especially back alley Big Pharma.
This game is trying really hard. I think it worked.
Knocking the ever-loving stuffing out of dealers is my anti-drug.
The game really wants to have good messaging, and I get it, but it comes off really vapid when you look at it beyond the surface level. Yeah, don't do drugs, but, you know, maybe Spider-Man should talk about getting rehab agents up there. I just wanted to talk for a while. I want this video series to be something that I'm able to grow a lot from, to really hone my editing skills, to make a lot out of a little, to maybe even like compose a little music for stuff like that. I hope it also teaches me to speak better. I hope it makes me better at speaker. But I really think it could be helpful for me to at least learn how to be a better orator. I think I lack that skill a lot of the times. I need to be able to entertain and use speech to compel and convey points that are important to me, so that people are willing to listen to me. I think it's important, like, for what I want to do for career and stuff, but it's just a great skill to have in general. And I don't know. I think finishing sentences with "I don't know" is probably, you know, a bad quality of an orator. I want to have the right words ready at the right time. I want to speak proper and not fill my sentences with ums and likes and fuckins. I want to be better in every capacity. I don't think I want to be the greatest. I don't want to, like, pursue greatness. I think it's a bit of a folly to want that, to not be content with just being able to be good enough. But I think being better is also good, obviously. You shouldn't pursue something that is totally intangible. You kind of have to let tangibility guide you. You have to move forward with some sort of senses. Like, you can't just be completely blind when you're going forward. You have to create some sort of system to make it that so that you can feel out around you, and you can then make better things because of that. If you compared my peaking video to the gaming videos I made like 5 years ago, then yes, you would see very actively I have gotten better at just like everything involving the video production process. But I can always be better. I can always be shown new things. I can always be taught, and that's just the nature of me wanting to learn and be better every time.
Need immediate response in Chelsea, over.
In Chelsea? So what does the game get right, I suppose? Well, to start, you get to play Spider-Man, and as previously said, one of the coolest things in the world. Another thing to note is that the animations of this game are actually really good. Like, Spider-Man transitioning in and out of this flow state where you're just moving up and down in like sort of like a sinusoidal way. It's very interesting to see how seamless it is to move in between these moments. You see him lift with his feet here and then dive down, and there's a very physical sense that even with the little bit in your controller shaking, the sound design picks it up really well and you feel like you're actually zooming through the town like this. This is really sweet. Another thing about the sound design is that the viewer, the user, the gamer, whatever, when they're listening to sound, and it's not like the main focus, like music or a podcast, they should have a lot of seamlessness. Like, it should not be noticeable that a sound engineer did a really good job. You should be able to literally just have everything make sense in terms of the sound. And the second that like bugs out or like gets weird, people will oftentimes just sort of crash on the game a little. Like, if a game's sound starts, you know, getting buggy at all, it really is something that hinders the experience a lot. And this game does a great job of making every sound count. I'm actually going to I've had my volume turned down a little bit this whole time just so I don't have to hear like the chatter on the radios and all that, but I'm going to turn it up a little bit and tell you what I'm hearing and maybe even what I'm not hearing. So the main thing you're hearing right now is this soundtrack. Like, this is so awesome to listen to. You feel very epic and like dramatic with this orchestral sound behind you. It feels like you're Spider. This is the feeling of feeling like the Spider-Man. Also, web clip. And this kind of web clip also comes with like a side sound, essentially like a reacted sound where whipping through the air and all that, but like the intensity of the wind gets stronger as you enter the swing. And you have this like moment where at the top of his like, you know, arc and all that, you slow down and the wind kind of dulls itself for a second, but as you continue to fall, and especially when you hit this sort of like moment where you're up and then you and it just really hits you right there. There's some impressive sound design in this game. You can even hear like the strain of the web as it pulls taut and like the friction on like his gloves and everything, but it's so subtle that those little things don't really even register with you. And it's not like these minimal sounds that may not even register with a person don't matter. They're there to fill the space for whenever the main sounds you're hearing aren't there. Like these web whips with the orchestra are the particular thing that people are going to hear. But that feeling of feeling like the Spider-Man is only imbued because there's these other little textural things that people will not pick up on immediately, but your brain is going to just hear because it's listening to everything. It adds so much more to the experience when you have these things to work with. But I guess it is also worthwhile to not just, you know, talk about the good in this game, and to also be honest about how it's kind of bad at times. Like I mentioned earlier, the story is really superficial and kind of frustrating with how it presents itself. It doesn't feel complete. And even though there are emotional moments in it, especially at the end, you know, where you actually like get to feel something, the game does not do a great job of being honest about why these moments should matter, or making the user feel that compelled to do anything except enjoy the feeling of playing as Spider-Man. I'd say as well, the missions in this game are just spread out in this really unfortunate Ubisoft open world kind of way that I think they could have been much more integrated or much more interesting if they weren't built in this way that I think a lot of modern open world games kind of take from, and just is really bad and boring. These missions are particularly boring and don't add a lot to the real world or make it feel more like you should do them for a good reason. I don't really care about doing them, which sucks because they have good reasons to do these missions in the way of how they would affect reality. This one here is like talking about how the research station was able to catch some sort of smog coming out of, Oscorp based they're like Oscorp like polluting and shit like that. In the real world, that's great. Like if there are research stations like this, they need to exist because they actually benefit humankind. In a video game, I don't think people give a flying fuck about this shit. It kind of frustrates me that something that I feel good about in real life pisses me off in the sense of a video game. The open world is very vast and a good representation of New York, but every fucking game is set in New York. It's so samey and frustrating to have every single time you swing down an alleyway just feel like the same bullshit you've seen in every game. Especially in this game, nothing feels unique. Nothing feels very compelling because it just isn't. I'm just sick of video games set in New York. And while a good emphasis was put in this game to literally just, have the Spidey, stop turning your ass to me, I want to see your face. While a good emphasis was put on making it so that the Spider-Man aspect of this game was really strong, the game loses out in moments where it tries to compel you through the story by putting you in these really shitty, sort of disempowered situations that don't feel like good disempowerment. Like I said, the MJ missions literally are only there to serve a mediocre ass story. And superhero stories can be super in-depth and interesting. Invincible is a great example of that. You can have a story that actually touches on difficult topics and compels the user to give a shit about something, to have some sort of moral understanding or challenge. And the game, I don't think they ever set out to do that. I don't think they ever set out to truly challenge the player in that way. And that kind of disappoints me. I guess ultimately, Spider-Man for PS4 is a game that is really brilliant and beautiful and took so much work to actually finish. And I can really love and respect all that. But it feels like aspects of it were not fleshed out, and it doesn't utilize every asset it has to its fullest potential, and even totally abandons some of them for the sake of just maintaining a certain kind of narrative. I really love this game, but I'm going to uninstall it now. I've been recording for like an hour and a half now, and I'm feeling done. Well, to to a game that brought me a lot of joy, but is unfortunately time to go. 65 gigabytes, Christ almighty. Anyways, to anyone who's watching this bullshit right now, thanks much. I appreciate the hell out of you. It's a real honor to get to speak on the mic and have the opportunity to make it all heard for a bit. I really enjoy this. I want to keep doing it, and I'm excited for the next episode. I'll try to punch him out as soon as I can, but this is like the last summer where I think I will really have the opportunity to make things I care about, at least in terms of video production. Because the second the school year starts, I'm going to be working like 2 production jobs and moving towards like a real career. And then once I'm in it, I just won't have the ability to make videos anymore. I think I see a lot of content creators go away to college and stuff and don't come back. because making videos was the reason that they started, you know, to produce in the first place and got into video production and were good at it. And then their job demands all their time and effort. And I have a lot of video shit on my plate right now that I need to take care of. So this summer, maybe like the very last time I actually get to enjoy this, to enjoy just sitting down and editing again. Anyways, thank you if you made it this far for watching. It means a lot. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Peace.